Hello everybody and welcome. Today we have an amazing guest on our World Architecture community, Melike Altinisik. She's the founder of Melike Altinisik Architects, and welcome again.
Thank you very much, Hatice, for your invitation. And I'm very glad to be part of this interview.
And before starting our talk, I like to just introduce a summary of your short biography. Melike Altinisik is an award-winning architect, designer, and educator. She's developed an innovative approach towards architecture, urbanism, and design. Her design work has received numerous prestigious design awards, including Europe 40 Under 40, FADAT Design Awards 07, and Civis Art Award. Her work includes prize-winning architects, prize-winning projects such as 369-meter tall futuristic Istanbul TV and radio tower, and the world's first pioneer robot science museum in Seoul. And start to her career is also a success story. Prior to forming her award-winning architecture practice, Melike Altinisik Architects, in 2013 in Istanbul, she was working in London almost 7 years with Zaha Hadid Architects. I think almost every architect's dream, and I believe you had amazing stories in these years. But now you have more to share your success under your name of architecture practice. So I like to start, I think, the main challenge of the architecture and design. So what is the design philosophy of Melike Altinisik Architects, and what are your design principles, and how does Melike Altinisik Architects create space?
Thank you for this nice introduction. Actually, this question is not easy to answer, but in general, I can say that as an architect, I am very deeply and madly inspired by nature. So usually, people, they describe our architecture like mathematical or futuristic. And I can say that we are not really surprised about this, because we believe that mathematics is kind of like source and the reason of everything. And since we are inspired by nature, all together they are connected to each other. So we believe that we need to really discover deeply the systems behind all these natural organizations, so we can learn a lot of things from there. So we take our inspiration from nature, which I can kind of simply try to explain this. And besides that, we believe that design itself is actually a subject all about the disciplines. So when you discover kind of all these unseen logics and systems, then you can work on multidisciplinary platforms. That's why our projects, they vary from different scales. Like we are building currently, it's almost, as you say, it's under construction. It's going to finish this year, like 369-meter tall TV tower on one side. On the other side, we designed this robot science museum in Seoul. Like we work also on master plans, cultural buildings, but at the same time we also do kind of research projects, and also we design furnitures, like, because these are all different scales, but they are all connected to each other because they share a certain understanding together, because there is a system design behind them. So this logic in a way helps us to really in a way really design between these various scales. And at the same time, like we work on, because since we do projects on different countries, you also develop understanding between different political, economical, and social conditions. And all these things in a way helps us to really develop kind of a coordination, and we call this situation kind of becoming a maestro at the same time, because you really need to develop a balance between all these information, because it's not just about your the space is not only related to the definition of the space. You also need to all the things that from your client to the the city to everything, they are combined together. That's why I always say our source of inspiration is always nature, and whenever we get stuck, we revisit its own.
So it's nature. I think it's in entire covers the mathematics and rules, and it's yes, from one point it's look art and inspiration and give you artist lots of production, but also it's behind that inspiration, I think very strong coding of mathematics or numbers is the and then from this you also won the international competition last year in Seoul, the Robot Science Museum, and you mentioned also that you use advanced computational techniques and mathematics. But can you tell us more about this project, and did you use any new methods, or what is the content, or the construction technique, or new innovation, what you offer in this design competition proposal?
Exactly. I mean, just shortly, sorry, my camera, just shortly to mention about this project for the people who doesn't maybe know about it. Actually, in beginning of 2019, at the end of 2018, Seoul Metropolitan Government in Korea, they announced this amazing competition, international competition. And as MAA, my firm, we were very excited to participate, because it was about robot science museum, and in Korea, all these things together, it was for us really a good case study to really test our ideas. So we entered to this international competition, and beginning of 2019, the jury, they announced MAA as the winner of the project. So our main idea for this competition was actually, since it's a robot science museum and Korea is such a developed country related to all this technological development, and especially in the architectural intelligence part of the robotics, we were saying, I mean, they need this project to really, in a way, educate also their public and the kids and everyone in the society. So they need this museum to share their all these technological developments in their country. We said, okay, I mean, we can design this museum. So all the participants, they were sharing this idea together. But what we offered was, we said the architecture itself actually should turn into a kind of exhibition piece. So we were saying that this museum will start its first exhibition with its own construction. So this actually puts already, this idea puts already on the table kind of a methodology that, I mean, you start saying that we will use also this, this building is not going to only exhibit these technologies. Actually, it's going to use these things during its design, from design to construction, because during design period, we are using all these advanced computational design tools and everything related to this, all these BIM technologies we have to use. And actually, they are already showing to our client and also to the construction period that you need to develop the design data in a good way that you will be able to use them also on the construction site. They are all connected to each other. So the way how also we shaped the design for this museum, actually we created kind of a non-directional spherical dome form. It was on purpose like that because we wanted to give the robots their universe at one side, like in a way that we want to give them, because the shape already should suggest that they are related together. what is going to be exhibited inside. And so currently we are in the construction documentation phase of the project. Since the competition, after the competition, actually, because our office was based in Istanbul and we had to open our branch office in Korea. It was very interesting journey for my firm and for all the teams. So we opened the branch office in Seoul, and it was also quite interesting. And later on, with our local architecture office, because in this type of projects you need to also have a local, with them together we developed all the phases together. Currently all these BIM part and all these computational design parts of the project are developed quite advancedly. And with the Seoul Metropolitan Government, actually when they go on site, we will decide which construction firm they will take over, and they will implement all these ideas on the construction site. Two things will be important. One of them will be the facade, because we want to really showcase the facade for this exhibition part, that you will use the robotic construction for the exhibition of the facade, and also the 3D printing for the landscape part. These two things will be our showcases for the city, we call it, because we believe that also the building, not only this building actually, in my opinion, many buildings in the cities in the future, they should be really part of the, you need to share your know-how, and you can do this also during the construction phases. You shouldn't really put them only behind the, in a way, construction curtain walls and hide everything, and then you say, surprise, our building is here. We don't want to do that. We really want to share our know-how with the citizens. That's why this building has such a strategy to design and to construct and to share this information with public, not only with architects. That's our key point for this project. And we are very excited. Soon, hopefully at the end of this year, the Seoul Metropolitan Government, they will start the construction, because currently still we are developing all the project documents to deliver to the site of the project. Yeah, that's the short but long story of the project.
No, it's so exciting, and I think you already give some clues about a question in my mind, because in the last decade there are lots of technological implementations, developments, and for maybe every profession and for architects as well. And we also start using this in our studios or practices, like we start maybe the older generation maybe start AutoCAD 3D and then move to BIM and the advanced, and now we are talking about 3D printing. But I just wondering how you will see the future of architecture and design. But you said that you want to educate people and share with the people is very, I think, important, and not to be detached from the public. And do you think what will also will change in the future in terms of this innovation and architecture and future of architecture? How do you see the future of architecture and design?
Actually, the future of architecture and design, I mean, I usually say, how can I say, like everyone will become an architect in the future, because technology in a way will help us to really educate everyone using these technological developments. So the general information will be available for everyone to use it without really getting this education. But as architects, today's architects, let's say, in my opinion, we will become kind of system builders. So we will really develop the intelligence behind all these systems for the citizens to kind of create I call it like equality in the society, because currently, I mean, we all know that in our cities, in metropolitan cities especially, the main buildings, they are, I mean, maybe 80% is anonymously built. They are not designed by architects. Like we don't know the
Yes.
architect of that buildings and these things.
Mm.
So the technology, in my opinion, will really help us to develop a certain intelligence that we will be able to share this range with public. So we will also develop our cities in a better way. So artificial intelligence also, of course, will help us to share, I mean, to develop and share the data, and also to improve the qualities of our cities with good architecture. That's one thing that I really believe, that technology will be really powerful and helpful to architects to connect to the general public through this type of understanding.
Yeah, some of the peoples or complain about that architects are detached from the public citizens, and so it's good connection, the way how artificial intelligence and technology will maybe put back the architects back to do the connection with the public.
Exactly. And there is one more thing actually related to this I can add on. Actually, all these developments at the same time, I mean, as architects, as we know, like, we don't design for past, we design for future. So it's really important for us to really how can I say, like, the question will be not about what we can do with the existing, what we should develop actually for the future. And while we are questioning this thing, I believe that one of the most important things, as we learned also during this pandemic era, is the energy. So how we consume the energy and how we generate energy. So when you build each time, actually you consume really a quite big amount of energy from the world. So this means at the same time, like the architects and the engineers and many other disciplines, we need to all together maybe come around round tables, discuss, and really we have to discover more materials, in my opinion. So which, let's say, less energy consuming materials for architecture, like for the construction, and to be used in our designs and in our buildings, will be very, very important. This will be also for future of architecture. I think it will be really important, in my opinion.
Yes, you're yes, indeed. I strongly agree with you. And coming with when you said about coming back to our new reality and to present, you mentioned the pandemic, and which everybody and every business has affected. And of course, you had some impacts on your business too. But what do you think about the pandemic and for now, and how the design of space will be reshaped after the COVID-19? Do you think the change in general, or there will be losers or winners? May not be say like this, but how? Maybe we already changed, but what do you think about in general?
In general, how can I start? With this pandemic situation, I believe that we really, all together, actually, we learned something. And it's very important, because we need to start questioning the existing social and economic systems, because they affect our cities, they affect how we live, they affect how we create and consume and everything. They are connected to each other. So in that sense, because we know very well that our cities, especially the metropolitan cities, I call them like obese. We are so dense and so intense. In that sense, like we need to really create sustainability and resilience in our cities. We need to find solutions for this first of all. Before we go into really specifically to design, how to design a building, we need to really find solutions to solve the problems in the urban scale, first of all. So this means that we need a new urban context. And in that sense, I believe that technology, again, helps us in a different way. This time, as a social technological change, I call it like it's knocking our door. Technology, in a way, is going to help us in that sense. And it's already started. It's already put us all together in a simulation. We were locked down in our homes, and we were trying to still continue working and communicating and socializing, but digitally. So the main problem what I see in general is actually the mobility, the physical mobility in our cities and also all over the world. So in that sense, when we try to find solutions related to these excessive and unnecessary travelings, then actually it will help us to develop more like this sustainable environment, and also we call it like the resilience related to health conditions or many other things. That's why it needs a new social and economical system. I believe that we really need to find solutions for the micro environments instead of macro environments. And so the neighborhood, because we all recognize one more time during this pandemic how important it is in your neighborhood, who are the actually artisans, or who are the local food sellers,
local
or
community.
Yeah, the local community. That's why, like, if we find really a good balance between the digital world and the physical world, in that sense, and as architects, we really need to think together with urban planners. I say, like, also we need to include the sociologists, philosophers, all these things together, because the human behavior will be very important to generate new architectural spaces. I mean, as a basic thing, you can say that people, they don't want to stay in tall buildings. They want to stay in small, buildings with gardens and this kind of things. But it's very quick answer in my opinion. Okay, this is happening and it will continue happening, but we need other solutions, like, because the human population keeps increasing. It's not going to change. So we will always have our cities. In that sense, we really need to find solutions in a different way, and it's related to this mobility issue, in my opinion, generally. That's why, like, we can travel globally through digital technologies like we do right now, but we can do other small things physically in our neighborhoods. So if we create this balance in a good way, I think step by step we will generate a new social environment, and of course new economies, and all these things will be connected to each other.
It's thank you. It's lovely to hear these positive thoughts, and it's very, because we need is we need optimism, because everybody is down with the COVID and pandemic. So we need to, I think, more focus from now on the future, as you said, as the architects and designers. And so, and how do you feel about being within all these success stories, and you're going to open your you mentioned in the local branch in Seoul, and being the representation of female young Turkish architects in the international arena, you're also busy, but with the success, how do you feel about this?
I mean, it's in general, for me, this is very difficult question to answer, because of course, that there is a fact that as a woman that you have to fight for equality, for freedom, and for respect in order to realize your manifesto or your dreams as a woman architect. But I usually don't try to go behind the gender, the woman, but I believe it also, I suggest for every woman in any other discipline or sector in the world, that I believe that the key point for us is actually to believe in the power of the knowledge we have. So when you are really successful with your know-how and with your knowledge, then it's beyond any gender, because the power of this thing is kind of helps us to disappear the gender. And then you talk about you start talking about this knowledge, and constantly you developed your knowledge and you become kind of innovative, and then you can pass certain difficulties that your gender creates. In that sense, I have to say that Zaha was kind of my mentor, because she was dealing with a lot of difficulties, but she never gave up what she believed in. And that's what I also learned from her is, if you believe in something, you need to stay really behind it, and you have to follow your own rules. But of course, with knowledge, like that's your
motto,
strong part and your power. And then you can do, you can take risks, you can develop many things, and you can change in a way that you can start changing people around you, and you can have an impact in the world. So it's not easy at all, but yeah, this is what I can say for this question.
Yeah, it's as you say, the know-how, knowledge is very, very important. But it's somehow it's maybe gender from female point of view. We women have somehow start or maybe fight more than compared to male, but the things are changing, so it's good. So last but not least, I like to also come to the beginning, and then you mentioned that multidisciplinary, and I think your MAA is also a multidisciplinary architecture practice. You have MAA lab, MAA club together, and also you have the MIMEL, which you at the same time is a platform. You said that you express your imaginary world within the artisan territories of handmade parametric design and art. Again, here, I think you inspire from nature or mathematics, parametric design, but for me, it's very interesting, and the technology in one hand and the handmade artisan products in the other hand, it's, I think, also challenging to combine together. But what you think about it is the future of handmade artisan and digital technology, and how you deal with all this within these entities?
MAA Lab, MAA Club, and MIMA.
MIMA, yes.
Exactly, all together. Actually, all these things are, I believe that they are part of our daily life. So MAA Lab is our research lab. We do physical and digital researches under the, because we call it as a platform. We want to deal with the problem tomorrow. We want to do system research, not directly related to our projects at MAA, but in a way that MAA Lab is in advance developing certain strategies for future of MAA. So when the right time comes for the certain project, then we revisit our MAA Lab and we collect the ideas that which can be helpful for us to implement that project. That's why I believe that MAA Lab, kind of our laboratory, is very important. And I believe that in the future, for many architecture offices, the the office structure will turn into more like lab instead of office. And it is already starting to happen in many new generation architecture office. We can see that. And I believe that this is very important, because usually when you really become a professional office after the, you know, when you start your career and when you open your office, as soon as you start developing your career, becoming more professional, then you start having less research time. And this really affects, I believe, that the philosophy and all these identities of the offices. That's why to have this kind of branch platform and identity in the office is very important, because whenever you have free time or you generate this time to develop research projects is important. And it shouldn't be only physical or only digital. There should be a balance between them. So we use 3D printing in the office. We use the robotic arm things because these things are also becoming so available, these technologies, not only in the factories or in certain companies. You can also have the mini versions of them in your office, and you can do the mini version of your research also in your office environment. Then you can take this idea to a bigger platform to share, to involve bigger companies or bigger collaborations with other collaborators to develop these projects. It's important. MAA Lab is this kind of platform for us. MAA Club, on other side, it is kind of our data source, I call it, but not only from people that's part of the MAA team. It also includes MAA guests, MAA friends. So because we believe that we need this MAA club to share ideas, and we don't only learn from architecture information. Actually, we learn a lot, as I said, from nature, from people, from daily life as well, or also from the interests of people, like their hobbies becomes also very important for us to take inspirations or to understand the social networks, because we design for people. So we need to really understand what they are interested in, or where we can get more inspiration to develop our know-how. That's why MAA Club for us is a kind of a knowledge sharing platform. We do sometimes presentations, sometimes writings, articles, sometimes some, how can I say, questionnaires, like different ways of sharing information, but not only related directly to MAA people, also other people are invited to this platform. And MIMMEL at the end becomes our a design brand, because we call because as I mentioned, we design things from a TV tower project to a furniture design or a candle design or jewelry design, like in any scale. We are interested to develop ideas in different scales. So MIMMEL for us is the scale for non-architectural part. So everything which is not an architectural piece, then we say that they are products of MIMMEL. And so we want to also create it, we already created MIMMEL as a design brand. So when we develop certain things in MAA Lab, and sometimes also MAA Architects, we take this information to MIMMEL, and we develop our designs in that part. And as you mentioned, I do a lot of also handmade sketches. And for me, it's very important, because I always say to my students, also young architects, it's the technology helps you just as a tool. It's not different than actually how you use the empty white paper and your pen, because as a designer, you are the rule maker, you are the system designer. You first put these rules, and then you generate your idea and your design and your project, your space, your architectural environment, everything. In that sense, I always say like when I do sketches, but not only architectural sketches, all these kind of people, they say they look computational design, as if the computer did it and you print it on the paper, but I do them with my hand. And it becomes very interesting, because when they see this, then they start questioning, and then they say, okay, because I say, here you put certain rules in the system, but you are the designer. And when you start using all these computational design tools in the computer, you shouldn't be slave of them. You should be really the one who is really controlling and ruling them to develop it. And never be scared, because you are the designer. That computer or that tool is just your pen. Just see it this way. And MIMMEL, in that sense, becomes really in between situation, because there sometimes we create things that, let's say I do hand sketches, but then we use the technology in a reverse way. We have these notebooks. All the patterns on the notebooks are actually handmade, but we use the technology reverse way, scanning, then laser cutting these sketches to be able to generate these notebooks. Or we have the pebble candles. Actually, they are also generated from my hand sketches, but on purpose, in a way, we are using this technique that to combine technology in a reverse way, to be able to also show people that you can combine these things together. So I always say, like, you need to really find good balance between digital and physical. Yeah, it's very important. You need to touch the material. You need to really touch to, for example, for our candle design, we first sketching on the paper and then modeling it from there into 3D world, then 3D printing the, we say, the first mock-ups, and then taking the inverse molds, and then using the physical world to pouring the concrete, the candle, and everything. So you start really merging the digital technology with the artisans, because when the when you pour the candle or the concrete, there are things that you cannot control, and you don't want to control it at some point. Then I believe that it becomes very interesting. Yeah.
It sounds, it's very interesting, and lots of design and brainstorming projects going at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
and I really thank you for joining us. I think you share your ideas and time with us and inspire us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your invitation again. It was really a pleasure to share MAA's vision with World Architecture community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.